Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of News for You. Today is episode 7. If you notice, I don't have my partner here with me today. She is celebrating Ramadan, and so best wishes to Tunisia and her family throughout this Ramadan time. I will do my best to fill in the gaps. It's really difficult when you have the attorney not present that's giving the legal information, but she has been able to bless us with a lot of information that we are going to pass on today. So, with that, I'll give you just a quick introduction. My name is Julian Baudouin again. I am the executive director of the Hub South Dakota, and we are a member of the South Dakota Dream Coalition. This episode of News for You is powered by the South Dakota Dream Coalition and is shot in the Hub South Dakota studio. The purpose of this particular news source is to make sure that we're providing accurate and timely information. This news broadcast will be not only given to you in English, but right after this, it'll be given to you in Spanish as well. So please stay tuned for our Spanish version coming up next. We would love for you to go on social media, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, like and share the News for You page, like and share South Dakota Voices for Peace, the South Dakota Dream Coalition, as well as, of course, the Hub and Cape Paso Sioux Falls, who all have intricately put their hands into what we are creating here to ensure that we're given accurately and timely information, particularly in the space of immigration and immigration information. We do rely on you to also ask questions so that we can continue these episodes and also continue to give you factual information on knowing your rights in the case that either ICE presents itself, has presented itself, or potentially will present itself. So if you have any questions that maybe you have or your community has, please make sure to reach out to us. Reach out to Cape Paso Sioux Falls, South Dakota Voices for Peace, and we'll be sure to do the research to make sure we get you the information there. So in today's episode, we're going to focus on 3 different topics. And the first topic is going to be alien registration requirements. The second topic is going to be local ICE activity. We want to make sure we give you an update on some things that is impacting us locally here in Sioux Falls particularly, or in Minnehaha County. And then the third, we want to go back and recap, the third, we want to go back and talk a little bit more, not necessarily recap, but talk a little bit more about power of attorney and how to access those forms, and also how to get those forms filled out accurately as well. So let's get started. Alien registration. So last week, the Trump administration did announce an executive order requiring anyone that's over the age of 14 years old that has been present 30 or more days in the United States and has not registered or been fingerprinted when applying for a visa. Now they have to register with the government. So we've received a ton of calls about this. What does that mean? What do you have to do? Well, this sounds really, really scary as far as registering with the government. But I will have to tell you that we have zero details on how this is actually going to happen. But I do want to give you some resources to maybe better educate yourself through this process. And I promise you, as we know more, you will also know more. First off, and I'll give this to you now, I'll also give it to you in a little bit in case you need to maybe jot it down, type it in your phone, whatever you need to do. But I'll give you this website here, which is www.uscis.gov/alien registration. And so that website has more information on not only the form that needs to be filled out, form or forms that may need to be filled out, but it'll also give you accurate updates as the government updates their information as well. So once again, that website is www.uscis.gov/alien registration. And so just to maybe make you a little bit more comfortable around kind of the unknowns, again, we do have immigration attorneys that are working pretty much around the clock now just to make sure that we are staying up to task and up to par with the information that's coming out, not just from the government, but also from the presidential administration to ensure that we are continuing to give you as much information as we possibly can. So around that, as soon as we know more and as soon as we verify the information, because we want to make sure we're giving you accurate information around all the topics. As soon as that information is verified, we will be sure to let you know. So it's going to be really important to, again, follow us on the social media platforms. South Dakota Voices for Peace is going to be the platform that you really want to follow for those continuous updates. They'll have those things posted on their website, but they'll also be posting updates as they come in on their Facebook page. So remember, again, because this stuff is scary, and just because a president wants to do something or says that ICE is going to be do something, or maybe even there's a memo or an executive order, it doesn't necessarily mean that those things will be done. And we have proof of that because now we see federal courts, federal judges, and even the Supreme Court, as recent as yesterday, go through and reverse some of those executive orders. And if they're not reversing some of those executive orders, the federal court has been able to put a pause or a freeze, or even a reverse on some of his freezes for the executive orders or funding that's pertaining to immigration as well. So again, just because you hear it, just because he says he wants to have it done, just because he says he's going to have it done, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be done until, of course, it goes through a full process. So make sure you are paying attention not just to what President Trump is saying or what's coming from the Trump administration, but also paying attention to what's happening in the courts. And again, make sure you're paying attention to News for You as we continue to cover this information as quickly as we possibly can. All right, so let's move out of that and let's go into a quick update on some local ICE activities. So we talked about this, I want to say probably episode 3 or 4 a little bit, to where we, as a coalition, had an opportunity to meet and also do a live video with the Minnehaha County Sheriff Milstad. And so if you hadn't had an opportunity to go look at that video, we really do encourage you to go back into the archives, look at that video. It's some really good information directly from the mouths of law enforcement, from executive law enforcement in Minnehaha County, letting us know what they cannot do, what they're willing to do, what they're not willing to do, as well as what it would take to have them involved in certain activities such as ICE. So I'm not going to rehash that much. Again, go back and watch that video. But we do want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of some of the maybe incarceration rates or the incarceration trends that were previously happening in comparison to the trends that are happening right now. So the first couple of weeks, what we saw was that people were being locked up by law enforcement for state charges or for outstanding warrants. And so South Dakota Voices for Peace has been very actively engaged in checking the county website to see exactly who's listed as being recently arrested and also what those charges are for. And they're doing their very best to keep track of those arrests as they pertain to ICE. And so, again, that very first week when we talked to, our very first couple of weeks, as we talked to Sheriff Milstad, we were told that when someone goes to jail, the ask is, were you born in the United States? And then they send a list of those that are in jail not born in the United States directly to ICE. So that is the procedure as you go into detainment. From there, ICE can decide whether or not they want to come and detain you for removal out of the country, or if they want to go ahead and release you back into what we know as society or normal society. Now let's look at that in comparison to the things that we are seeing happening now. So that was the data, when we first got started, and we started to see some of those ICE custodies right away. But now we're starting to see a change in the trend. We're not seeing as many of those state charges any longer. We're not seeing as many of those state warrants any longer. But what we are seeing is that folks are starting to register for firearms. And so from the firearm registry, ICE is, so federally you have to do a background check. That's a mandate that you have to do a background check. The state of South Dakota has some different rules regulating whether or not you have to wait on the background check to come through, and all those things around either carrying a firearm, owning a firearm, things of that nature, right? So those are state laws, but federally it is required for you to do a background check. Throughout that process, if there is a hit on the background check, then ICE is immediately notified. And so what we're seeing now is that folks are being picked up on either falsifying some information during the background check process or not falsifying and just registering to purchase a gun illegally. And so we don't want that to happen. So what does that mean? That means if you purchase a gun in South Dakota, you went through a background check and the background check has been flagged for some reason, usually again because of false information, ICE will be coming to look for you. However, you have to remember the rights that we talked about before. Even if you have contact with ICE, know your rights. Please make sure you're talking to an attorney. Please understand that you have the right to remain silent even in that instance. Now, us saying this also means that we want to reiterate that we do not encourage you to give any type of falsified information. Please understand that giving false information is a crime and you will be detained by ICE if you do so. Not just on a background check, but in any situation whatsoever. One of the things that we also want to make sure that we're highlighting is that if you say that you are a U.S. citizen and you're not a U.S. citizen, that is also a crime. Verbally stating that you're a U.S. citizen but you're not a U.S. citizen is a crime. And so let's make sure that we are giving accurate information to folks who are doing the background checks, but also if in fact you do happen to talk to either law enforcement or ICE, let's make sure that we're giving accurate information in those situations as well. Don't ever say that you are a U.S. citizen if you are not. This particular crime is a deportable crime. So that's why that is so vital to know. All right, so let's move ahead into talking through some of the recaps for power of attorney and making sure that you understand where you can go to get power of attorney information, as well as how to fill out the forms, what needs to happen before the forms are turned in, so on and so forth. So if you haven't joined us before, again, we do have these episodes recorded on Facebook and YouTube. Please go back to the Hub's Facebook page, South Dakota Voices for Peace, and also the YouTube channels that we have News for You on, and go look at episode 5 particularly, where we really break down in detail the information around power of attorneys. And so just to maybe give you a quick, brief explanation of what a power of attorney is, it is a document where you give someone else the authority to either take care of your children if you are detained or deported, or you give someone the authority to access your financial information, such as bank accounts. You give someone the authority to sell your house if you own it, sell your vehicles if you own those. And so the power of attorney really is an opportunity for you to keep your children and your financial assets safe. So as we go through this, please keep those two things in mind as to why we're giving you access to the forms, and also giving you access to what we'll talk about here a little bit later in notaries to get those forms submitted properly. That's why we're giving you this information. So one of the things we want to really harp on is that power of attorneys is no cost. No cost at all to get a power of attorney. And so we're going to give you some opportunities, so we're going to give you some information so that you can go in and get those free power of attorneys. If someone is trying to charge you to fill out forms for a power of attorney, do not do it. Please forward this information to family, forward this information to friends, have them go through and watch these episodes that we provided. Again, going back to episode 5 where we talk about power of attorney and all the information surrounding power of attorney in detail. But also today I'm going to give you information such as phone numbers and websites, and also even an address to where you can physically go in to a safe location to fill out a power of attorney. So the forms are online. And so if you are interested in going online, you can go on social media, or you can go on the website. Again, South Dakota Voices of Peace has those forms on both of those sites. Okay, once you fill out the form, you do need to get a stamp from a notary. There are notaries that will be available, and again, I'll give you some access or some details to when those notaries will be available and where. It's really important to remember, in the United States, a notary does not have to be an attorney. So you don't necessarily have to go directly to an attorney. Attorneys do cost money sometimes to get things notarized, depending on what it is. And so we're giving you access to free information and to free notaries. We are also working on opportunities for you increased opportunities for you to get those power of attorneys signed so that the Dream Coalition can help you get the information to exactly where it wants to be. So what I'm giving you here is a list of areas in Sioux Falls and also in Yankton. Last time around, I think we were only able to give you maybe one or two of those pieces, but now we have multiple locations to where you can go, multiple places, not just physically, but as I said, online as well, that you can go to get these forms filled out. We are increasing access to that as we speak. So these are not the only four that will be available, and we'll make sure you have that access to information in the next episode. So as of now, here in Sioux Falls, the trusted power of attorneys that we have is Caminado Juntos. I'm going to give you the phone number. I'll go back through and make sure you have this again, give you time to go grab pen and paper. But Caminado Juntos, their phone number is 605-274-3735. You do have to make an appointment with them to fill out your power of attorney, and they will have folks available as well to provide a notary stamp. So again, that number at Caminado Juntos is 605-274-3735. All right. In addition to that, every Monday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., you can go over to South Dakota Voices for Peace office at First Congregational Church. That is located at 300 South Minnesota Avenue. Also there, you can fill out the power of attorney. They also have Spanish speakers that will be able to help you out if you do not speak English. And you are also still able to get a notary to sign it there as well. You do not have to make an appointment during that 5 to 7 p.m. period on Mondays over at First Congregational UCC Church when you meet with South Dakota Voices for Peace. All right, the next one here is Nalja Smith's Tax Accounting Service. They have power of attorneys also available. They also have Spanish-speaking staff, and they also have notaries. So ahead of going, we ask you to call them just to give them a heads up that you will be coming. That phone number is 605-332-5255. Again, 605-332-5255. And so just give them a heads up that you're coming, not necessarily that you have to make an appointment with them, but they would like to know to prepare for your presence. All right, those are the three places where you can go in Sioux Falls. And again, you can also go online at South Dakota Voices for Peace, but you do have to be present to have a notary stamp those forms. In Yankton, please consider contacting Connecting Cultures. So send them a Facebook message. Again, their title is Connecting Cultures. They will assist you through Facebook on how they can help you access the forms and also how they can help you access a notary. They also have access to language interpreters and also Spanish-speaking folks at Connecting Cultures. And so for them, you do have to send them a Facebook message in order to connect, and then they will assist you that way. So as we continue to hear of more power of attorneys in the area that are trusted, and also more notaries that we trust, that brand with the South Dakota Dream Coalition, we will continue to let you know, of course. And then if you know somewhere that might be able to help maybe larger groups of people, please let us know at the South Dakota Dream Coalition, South Dakota Voices for Peace, KPOS Sioux Falls. And then we are more than willing to sit down and meet with folks. We're more than willing to incorporate those groups who are also willing to help within the coalition as well. And then we can also come to different events, whether it be to actually fill these forms out. We can come to events with the notary in hand, whether it's a church event, whether it's a community event, whether it can be a soccer practice. It doesn't matter. We are more than willing to set up appointments to where we can also come to you to your trusted space. So that is the information we have for you on this episode of News for You. Again, we thank you so much for continuing to tune in to News for You. We need your help spreading this information. This is so vital to our community, so vital to the safety of people in our community. And so we ask you not just to spread the word, verbally, but we ask you to share this message on social media. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Please follow us at News for You, the Hub South Dakota, South Dakota Voices for Peace, the South Dakota Dream Coalition, and also Cape Sioux Falls. Thank you again for joining, and y'all have a good night.